When we were given this final essay, I immediately knew who I wanted to base my leadership assignment on. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an inspiration to many and a man that was admired for the way he endured such hardships while leading others in his time. Back in his time of leadership, it was a time of radical transformation. African Americans were freed from slavery and began to enjoy greater rights as a citizen. Despite these developments, they were still rather oppressed and continued to live a harsh and segregated life, getting poor treatment from white people. Michael Luther King Jr., who then changed his name to Martin Luther King Jr., was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. Growing up, he came from a family that had a fair amount of wealth, a bit more than the average African American family. He was well educated and graduated from multiple different universities in different programs. He became a Baptist minister and social activist who fought towards achieving racial equality. On April 4, 1968, a single gunshot killed Dr. King on a motel balcony in Memphis, Tennessee. Dr. King, who was 39 when he died, gave a speech the night before his death that foreshadowed his assassination. In his speech, which was made famous after his assassination, he said, "And I have seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as people will get there." Today, he is considered as one of the greatest non-violent leaders and is now celebrated every year in the United States for his life and achievements as an influential American civil rights leader. A transformational leader like Martin Luther King Jr. had a vision. He sought a life of change, a life in which race was not an issue in how people were allowed to live their lives, a society bonded by peace, equality, and fraternity. He constantly displayed resiliency in his time of leadership. He put himself in harm's way. Each time he was knocked down, beaten, attacked by dogs, hosed down, and imprisoned. Despite all of this, he would continue to do what he did and silently, peacefully protesting in order to show others that there was nothing they could do for him to give up. He was so motivated by his vision that he fought hard to create an impact in the lives of all African Americans, even those who did not fight alongside him. The start to Dr. King's leadership started shortly after the arrest of Rosa Parks on December 1, 1955, after she had refused to surrender her bus seat to a white male passenger. A group of activists formed the Montgomery Improvement Association to boycott the transit system and chose Dr. King as their leader. Considering his well-trained education, he was inspired by the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi and became familiar with his philosophy of nonviolent resistant protesting. His followers selected him as a leader because he was a well-educated and trained man who was a lifelong student. He learned from others and not just from his field. He was respected and empathetic. He made it a point to spend time walking a mile in the shoes of people he was fighting for. He knew that to be their leader, he needed to have a vivid understanding of their circumstances and challenges that came with them. As a result, he spent time talking with those he represented regularly and went beyond that by marching arm in arm with protesters. For every one of his followers who was harmed, beaten, thrown in jail, he would be right there next to them. Eventually, after tough times, the city buses were desegregated, and this would be the start to his journey of seeking equality for his people. He was effective as a leader because he was fighting for something more than just for himself. He was fighting for others, and he was fighting for what they deserve. There are bad leaders and good leaders, but the key is to be the best leader you can be for your followers. 50 years after his memorable speech and 45 years after his assassination, his physical existence might seem distant, but the influence of his leadership legacy still continues on. He was able to persuade others to believe in his dream for a better future. He swayed the course of history and remains a key influencer of countless generations after him, regardless of the color of their skin.